Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you FoR versus Protosszocker in the second Asia Pacific tournament. This is the lower bracket round 3, and previously we've seen Protosszocker get knocked down to this game from the semi-final, and FoR move on from the lower bracket round 2 to find his way here. Now, the winner of this game will move on to the third place final to distinguish who will be third place in the tournament overall, but no longer have a chance to win the tournament, which is quite odd for like a double elimination bracket, but I think it was just due to the amount of people who were playing in the tournament that it ended up this way. Either way, today we have Hill 112 with the 2nd Infantry and 9th Panzer. So, interesting matchup that we've seen a couple times before. Most of the time falling in favour of the 2nd Infantry though, as far as I can remember. And that mainly comes down to the use of M4s. The M4s are really good for dealing with the 20mm autocannon units that come out of the 9th Panzer. And also are pretty decent at dealing with Marders, honestly. Because if the M4 can find its way into range of a Marder and finds the first shot due to the increased aim time, then you can actually take out Marders at close range. But the only issue with that is if Protosszocker micros his Marder 3s properly, that shouldn't happen, and those 2-star Marder 3s should be able to do a lot of damage versus the M4s. So yeah, it's a micro matchup, more or less, is what I'm trying to get at. And it's going to rely on basically what happens with the Marders and what happens with the M4s. The rest is just kind of infantry matchup, which is generally relatively close. You got rifles versus Panzer Grenadiers, and you'll generally have 2 units of rifles for every Panzer Gren due to the Panzer Grens having to come in half tracks for the most part. Although I believe you can get some on in Opal Blitzes, so we'll see those come in as well, like on this top side. But that's still a 35-point infantry squad compared to a 20-point rifle squad. So that's basically what I was saying there, with like 2 squads of rifles being like 40 points. It's going to be like 2 versus 1 for the most part. Command infantry is going to be joining on the top there for Protosszocker. We also have an AT gun. Further down, Panzer 1 and the SD GFZ 251-1 with the MG. We have little bit of a combination of units going on here. Panzer 1 accompanying the Marder 3 and a Befehl Panzer 2. Also some infantry in there. And then on the bottom side it's a half track with an MG as well. Over on the side of FoR, on the bottom side we have a unit of assault. These would be Ranger Assault, I assume. And then we have some rifles. We have the M5 gun. There's also a Jeep in there. That's actually an M1 gun, sorry. And then we have another M1 gun. We also have the Jeep 30 cal with the recon rifles for the mid and an M4 for the mid. And on the top side it's going to be Ranger Marauders, Ranger supports. There's some Ranger supports for the first tier as well, with another M1 gun there. So plenty of AT guns actually for FoR at the start of this game. It'd be interesting to see where he puts them. It looks like this one's heading up to the top tier, which is nice. This one's on the 2nd tier. We have one for the 3rd tier. None on the bottom. And I think I quite like the placement of these AT guns, as they're able to almost cover each other on each tier of the hill. This M1 gun, however, almost finding the shot onto the Panzer 1, but not quite. Jeep 30 cal and rifles have opened up in the mid. So first shots have been fired now. Marder 3 going to be rolling up in the center, and that Marder 3 is going to have to find this M4 at some point in order to deal with that, and it seems as though Protosszocker is aware. However, does not have the recon in the center that can see the M4 unless he's seen it come up the road already. But this M1 gun finding shots onto the Panzer 1, Panzer 2. Panzer 2 can't actually fire back due to the range disadvantage there. The Panzer 2s and Panzer 1s only have 800 meter range, so this is a bit dangerous if that AT gun is allowed to creep up. Enemy tank has been spotted here for Protosszocker. That should give him a target for his Marder. I'd like to see that Marder start to approach that M4 to engage it at 1,200 meter range. However, it looks like the Marder is actually moving up the hill. Okay, never mind, moving back. Good stuff indeed. Right. At least he's heading the right way as the M4 does open up onto the Panzer Grenadiers here and start to force them back. M1 gun has found itself into range of the Panzer 1C and Panzer 2C once again. Half-track is going to be opening up onto the Jeep 30 cal on the bottom side. And a kill from the M1 gun does come about. Befehlpanzer 2 has been killed, and that's a pretty big kill, honestly, because taking out command at this point in the game is really, really nice for FoR, because there isn't any other command on the map other than these Panzergrenadier on the top side. And ideally that Befehlpanzer 2 I think would be with the Marder 3 and make that a 2-star Marder 3. That would probably be a lot more beneficial. Marder 3 though is finding the range onto the M4. Oh, FoR just getting out of the way before the Marder can fire. That is very important, and as long as FoR continues to just reverse that, it doesn't look like Protosszocker is going to find the kill soon, at least. Ranger Mortar has been brought in on this top side. Can those Ranger Marauders see that AT gun? They can indeed. So this Ranger Mortar should go to work on these two squads for sure, especially considering they are stacked as well. There's also the Panzergrenadier in there. That mortar fire is going to do a lot of work. And it can fire very, very quickly as well. So all of those units are going to be pinned down. Nice work from FoR to spot that and take them out. Panzergrens in the mid, still being hammered very hard. This Jeep 30 cal did manage to get out of the way of this half-track, which is something you wouldn't see very often, honestly. The MG should be able to take care of the Jeep 30 cal pretty easy, but now we have a mortar coming into the bottom side as well, probably to take care of this MG. And it looks like FoR is finding himself an advantage at the moment. Just has to be careful of this Marder engagement. That Marder should be able to take out the M4, and I would expect to see Protosszocker try and micro that. This Panzer 2 needs to go and accompany the Marder 3, because that's a very important kill to get there. Like, all eyes should be on this M4 for Protosszocker, in my opinion, as taking out the M4s in Phase A definitely makes things a lot easier for his 20mm autocannon units, even against things like these 6-pounders. There is an M5 gun on the map though in Phase A, and that is a very threatening unit indeed. It looks like it may be FoR's answer to this Marder 3 and other 20mm autocannon units. M4 is going to take a shot at the Panzer 2 looks, but the Marder 3 is now in range. M4 cannot fire back. 6-pounder has been dealt with on the M1 gun here by the 251-2 half-track. This M1 gun on the top side is now under fire from an MG and the Panzer 1C. But the M4 has retreated, is going to be attacking the Panzer 1C, forcing that to fall back, and now he has the M4 available to hit the MG42 and stop the M1 gun from being pinned down. So, can this half-track make the difference here? It needs to find shots onto this M1 gun on the top side. Like, I would like to see this mortar carrier sort of maybe zoom round to the top and take out the M1 gun for good. Currently it's pinning down this M4 though, which is also a pretty good choice if this Marder can get into line of sight and find a shot onto the M4 there. That would be a really, really good kill. This is a perfect chance for the Marder to advance and find that kill. However, FoR is just being allowed time to get this M5 gun into position, and I feel like Protosszocker really isn't being aggressive enough. This M1 gun firing onto the Panzer 1C again allows the MG42 to open up. Maybe that will get pinned down. Yes, it will. Allows the Panzer 1C to then engage. Ranger supports did manage to take the tree line that was mortared earlier by this Ranger mortar, and the AT gun was killed on that top side. So FoR finding himself a +1 early on. These rifles forced back though by the Panzer Grenadiers, and it seems as though this M5 gun has been spotted by the mortar. This Marder 3 definitely can be as aggressive as it likes. It has found the shot towards the M4DD here. Can it find the kill though? Driver wounded, that's a start. Surely it can find the kill. Bounce there. This is probably the last shot he's going to get. Crew knockout. Okay, maybe he's found himself another shot. 2-star Marder 3 versus 10 armor. That is 13 AP. I'm surprised he has not penetrated yet. One more shot. Nope, it's a bounce. Wow, Protosszocker getting pretty unlucky there with multiple shots on target from a 2-star Marder. And now he definitely needs to be pursuing that, especially if he can keep this M5 gun pinned with the 251-2 mortar carrier. This Befehl Panzer II-C is in a very bad spot, being hit by the M5 gun now after previously being forced back by the M1 gun. Also an M4DD on the way. We have the Panzer II Lux being forced back here by the weapon jam. Ranger Marauders are being charged down by Panzer II Lux, but looks like Protosszocker was not successful in taking those out. FoR's managed to move back into range with the Zuka again, and now the Panzer II Lux is forced to fall back as well. Okay, so 2 Panzer II Lux there, forced away by the Ranger Marauders. Fantastic job. We see the M1 gun take out a half track on the top side. Panzer I-C is forced back by the M7DD. We have the MG42 opening up onto the M1 gun here, and the mortar is actually hitting the M5 gun in the center. So things being pretty slow at the moment. This Marder's now approaching the M4. I would have liked to have seen this a lot earlier on, but it's good that Protosszocker is moving this Marder 3 aggressively now towards the M4 in the center. Panzer 1 has been killed on the bottom side by the M4DD. So this mortar's actually doing a pretty nice job onto the M1 gun. Just needs to be retargeted there, which it has been. And then it looks like Protosszocker is going to have to try and play around this M4, which is going to probably require another Marder, which is what I like to see coming in. Good. So Protosszocker making the right choices of units, but not necessarily utilizing them properly in the center. Did find a shot onto the M4DD here by the looks of things. And these Panzer II Lux trying to creep around the top side, but I wouldn't be surprised to see these Ranger Marauders actually hit a shot. It looks like they're just about managing to stay out of the 200-meter range. Those Lux are making a break for it. Very nice. M1 gun going to be opening up onto those targets though. Can they find the kill? I'm not too sure. This Panzer II Lux charging forwards with the weapon jam is probably not the best plan. And now the Panzer II Lux there retreating, actually falling back into the Ranger Marauders. Ranger Marauders this time though are going to get killed off. Protosszocker really just needs to focus down the M1 gun. He is in range, so he should be just like moving forwards there and focusing down the M1 gun. Maybe it's the M4 that's scaring him back more than anything, which I guess makes sense. But this Marder 3 should basically be shadowing the M4 quite hard, because that's the only thing that Protosszocker has in order to deal with the M4s in Phase A. This Pak 38 not in a very good place at the moment. MG42 going to be opening up onto this infantry. It's actually in a really good position because the M4 is not able to fire onto the MG42. The MG42 is able to fire onto the infantry. Pak 38 there is going to be finished off, and now this leaves the mortar carrier very vulnerable. Mortar carrier is down. Panzergrens are pinned on this bottom side, and there is a potential for a large salient forming here, especially with both of these Marder 3s in the mid, killing infantry as opposed to trying to counter the tanks, which they should be. This Marder 3 needs to get up onto this tier sooner than later so it can kill the M4DD for him, and then the other one needs to be on the bottom side, or at least on the side of the hill here, to take out this M4 as it pushes up, because currently these Panzer II Lux are just being annihilated by the M4 here. They don't have anything to fire back at that range. They need the Marder 3 support, and like I said, Protosszocker has all of the right units, but it just doesn't seem like he's utilizing them properly. And now this is risky, moving up with the Marder 3 onto this tier. He needed to do it before the M4 came down, because now he's left himself in range of the M4, and there's a very good chance the M4 would win that engagement, which indeed he does, as he scores an internal fragments, which is not good at all. So now there is a Panzer IV-J on the way, and that's going to be Protossocker's answer for this M4DD, but he's going to need some command with that at least in order to win this engagement. Otherwise the M4 has the potential there to just win. This Panzer IV-J doesn't have decent rate of fire, honestly. Its aim time's pretty slow. The M4 is going to get the first shot off for sure, as you can see, and that could definitely affect that engagement quite significantly. So if he wanted to get rid of this M4, waiting until this Panzer IV-J, like knowing if he was going to bring in that Panzer IV-J or not, if he was knowing he was going to bring in that Panzer IV-J, waiting and being patient for the Marder 3 would have been a much better choice. So when the Panzer IV-J engages the M4, the Marder 3 comes up, and then you go for the double team onto the M4 and win that engagement. But that was not the case this time around. Panzer Grenadiers in the open are going to get surrendered most likely, as they are not falling back. Panzer IV-J, taking its sweet time to aim, is going to actually hit the rifles here. And these Marders are just not in an ideal position. This one needs to move to replace this one which has internal fragments. You can't just have them sitting around like that. So the Panzer II looks still being forced to fall back here. M4DD is almost going to get side shot by the PaK 38, but didn't find the shot. Second shot misses. That's an unvetted PaK 38. That's pretty likely to happen. And that is no kill for Protosszocker, and Protossocker's gonna surrender. 13 minutes and 47 seconds. FoR wins the game. I'm not entirely convinced if that was the best time to surrender or not. Losing that pressure on the top side wasn't a complete disaster because all of his looks were still alive. I think he could have replaced some infantry into that town and then brought the Panzer II looks down to the bottom side to completely overrun that area if he like concentrated his Panzer II looks with the Marder 3s. Unless a Marder 3 kill happened that I didn't see, both of those Marder 3s were still able to come back in that game. Oh, looks like some rifles there. Oh, they were taken out by the Marder 3. But no, the Marder 3 was not killed. One of the M4, oh, it looks like the M5 gun eventually picked up the kill. Okay, so maybe losing one of the Marder 3s was a trigger for that. I'm not entirely sure. But it seemed that like the Marder 3s just weren't shadowing the M4s properly. Maybe Protosszocker didn't have enough recon to keep an eye on them, and that's why he didn't shadow them with the Marder 3s. Because that's basically the only way that the 9th Panzer can deal with M4s in the early game. It's a shame. Either way, Protosszocker is going to be knocked out of the tournament because of that, and FoR is going to be moving on to the 3rd place final to face the winner of the other lower bracket round 3 game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.